At some point, everybody's honeymoon comes to an end, especially in the professional realm of things. And we spent the past 4 years or so looking the other way, so willingly able to point the finger in other directions. Not saying those other directions didn't deserve fingers pointed at it. No, Justin Fields, Mitchell Trubisky under the old regime of Ryan Pace. Bad coaching. John Fox was when John Fox was the coach of the Bears. He was basically on his retirement last lap around the NFL. He was a shell of his former self. He knew he was on his way out. He wanted one last hurrah. The Bears bid on it. And inevitably, that went nowhere also. But with Ryan Poles, we tend to give him the benefit of the doubt because he did transform this roster from not having any talent at all to having quite a bit of talent. So that he can get credit for. And I think the drafting of Caleb Williams was a great pick. It was basically a no-brainer. Regardless of what people want to say right now, earlier in the season, the jury is still out. A lot of people are in love with Jaden Daniels, thinking he's going to be the best quarterback to come out of this draft. I still think that Caleb Williams is going to be the best quarterback to come out of this draft. And all the moves he made trades to bring in Keenan Allen before the draft even happened, because he knew he was drafting Caleb. He wanted Caleb to have somebody to throw to. The problem is, you could have all the weapons in the world to throw to. You can even have one of the greatest running backs of all time. It's not going to too much matter if you have a trash offensive line, and that's what the Bears have. And between Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham, it just seems like they're hell-bent on drafting offensive linemen that remind them of themselves, which is kind of weird, because wouldn't your goal be to draft, let's say you thought you were a pretty solid offensive line. You may have thought you were a diamond in the rough. Okay. But once you're in a position of GM, don't you want to look for players they're not diamonds in the rough. They are the actual diamond. There's no need to chisel off the coal and mold it into the diamond. It's already formed. It's there. You can see it glistening already. You don't have to mine for it. Just see it. You just got to reach in there and pluck it. But it seems like Poles and Ian Cunningham, it seems like their ideology, their mentality is to look for offensive linemen with potential into becoming something. Smart offensive linemen. You don't hear too often a team with a bunch of dumb offensive linemen. And chances are, when you see teams with very aggressive and physical offensive linemen, those teams usually go pretty far into the playoffs. I'm talking into February. Why Ryan Poles refuses to look for offensive linemen that were, let's just say, are clearly better than he ever dreamed to be. What's wrong with that? How is that a problem? And what's starting to worry me is this turning into an ego thing with Ryan Poles. It's turning into, I can prove to you I can find similar offensive talent as myself when I played, and those guys will be good enough to protect the franchise quarterback. and we can get to and win Super Bowls that way. And if we're at that point in time right now, then I'll be the first to say it. Maybe Bears fans should have Ryan Poles in their bullseye as far as being on the hot seat. Maybe it's time for us to light the match to add to the seats so it can be heated up underneath Ryan Poles. Maybe he has gotten a little bit too comfortable with fans over the past couple years referring to him as King Poles. He's done great with the salary cap. He got the Bears in position to draft their number one franchise QB, but all of that would be for naught if you don't take the offensive line more seriously. And it just seems like it's been an afterthought with this man. I have no idea why. His current approach is not working. And I'm willing to go on the record as saying I wouldn't be surprised one bit if the Bears lost to the Patriots. And the Patriots suck. But your coach that you're willing to die on a hill with, it's pretty obvious. And if you listen to what the players were coming out saying before the Washington game, before the Commander game, the previous week, coming off a bye, usually when Matt Eberflus has a bye week, you look at his record coming off a bye, it is terrible. It is absolutely atrocious. It's terrible. It's like he's the kind of coach that the team needs to keep playing back to back to back, week after week after week, because if you give them too much time, too much idle time, it seems like the team gets worse. And it's not just this year against the Washington Commanders. This is a pattern throughout the Matt Eberflus tenure here. Why is Ryan Poles so hell-bent on holding on to Matt Eberflus? See, it's starting to look like an ego thing to me. Ryan Poles wants to walk around and carry himself like he's the smartest person in the room. He's the only one that knows what's best for the Chicago Bears. And in the end, he's going to be proven to be right. The only problem is, even if the McCaskies initially hired Matt Eberflus, you made the choice, Ryan Poles, to keep him, to retain him, to extend him another year. Well, I take that back. I don't think it was an extension, but you know what? I'm having a brain fart right now. What we do know is Ryan Poles had the choice to go in another direction, and he chose to stick with Matt Eberflus. And the Bears organization as a whole, they tend to not fire coaches in the middle of the season. And we all know what that is. They don't want to pay two contracts. They don't want to pay off the coach they just fired to pay out his contract at the same time paying the salary of the new coach coming in. We all know what this is. Cheap Bears ideology rearing its head again. And a lot of that was born in the past. Now, a lot of fans would say that the Bears were cheap with players. Or if this free agent costs a certain amount of money, the Bears are not going to go after him because they're cheap. So over the years, the Bears try to shed that thought process, that label. The only problem with that is they, even when they pay players a lot of money, it seems to be the wrong players. So the end result is the same. We're still back at square one. Okay, we looked at you as being cheap as far as paying players in the past, and now you're paying players, but you're paying trash players. So that's not helping anybody. And Ryan Poles has been ducking and dodging. He's been escaping the wrath of the fans and the sports media as a whole in Chicago for a few years now. Everybody's been giving him the benefit of the doubt because a lot of us, the majority of us, think that he has identified and drafted the franchise QB. But if the franchise QB gets folded up into a pretzel because your offensive linemen suck, because you don't want to go after blue chippers, you don't want to go after actual Pro Bowl offensive linemen that other teams can't afford because they're in salary cap hell, which is another thing I don't understand because Ryan Poles has access to more information than the average people, the average Joe Schmo like myself. Teams might want to retain their certain Pro Bowl offensive linemen, but can't afford to. Why isn't Ryan Poles on the phone wheeling and dealing and maneuvering the same way he brought in Keenan Allen? The same way he was looking to bring in Judon from the Patriots. He's always looking for defensive tackles, defensive linemen, linebackers, safeties, corners, and it's all fine and dandy. And once he got Keenan Allen, we were all like, "Oh crap, Poles ain't playing." He's going to draft a quarterback, and he's going to give his quarterback weapons to work with. DeAndre Swift, oh my God, Poles is cooking now. Wait a minute. In the back of all of our minds, we were thinking, yeah, these skill position players on offense, that's all fine and dandy. But who the hell is going to protect the franchise QB? Who's going to protect Caleb? And this is the issue that I'm having with Ryan Poles at this point. Stop drafting average at best offensive linemen, hoping that they can play above their talent grade. Their talent grade is where it's at because that's what they are. Stop looking for regular, expecting them to be great. If you have a chance to get great, go get great offensive linemen so Caleb Williams can finally be comfortable back there and he's not looking like, holy crap, I got people falling around me, falling near my knees and stuff like that. And, let me just get rid of the ball. Oh, the ball was overthrown. Well, I wonder why the ball was overthrown because, Caleb spends the majority of the game running for his life. Of course, he's not going to have time to go through his progressions. He doesn't have time to. After his first progression, he has a 300-pound defensive tackle dancing on his neck. So I say all that to say this. Ryan Poles, time is up for you to slip and slide and glide through during this honeymoon phase. This phase is over with. Because we need to start looking at you. Why you have such a blind spot when it comes to identifying quality offensive linemen that are capable of not only protecting Caleb Williams, but they themselves have the capability of being and remaining healthy. You drafted a guy that was already hurt that needed surgery. As far as Kieran Amagaji, he already had a torn quadricep muscle that needed surgery. You drafted him anyway. Finally gave him some snaps out there, and he was clearly overwhelmed to the point where it's like, okay, one of two things is the problem here. Either this kid sucks and should have never been drafted, especially not where he was drafted, or you drafted somebody who was clearly injured and needed surgery, hoping he would play above what he actually is because he reminds you of yourself. That's not helping anybody. I don't remember you getting a gold jacket. Why do you want a bunch of offensive linemen like you? protecting a franchise QB of which you went out of your way to draft. Make sure he had the playbook in his hand even before the draft, allegedly. I think. Maybe. That's what the rumors say, but who knows? Caleb had the playbook early, even before he was drafted. So you had your mind made up on Caleb this whole time. Well, why is it taking you so long to make up your mind what kind of offensive lineman you need to protect that man? So, let me know what y'all think down in the comment box down below. Hit the like button, share this video. Let me know what you think. Is it time for us to start turning the bullseye on Ryan Poles? Because he's been skating scot-free of criticism for far too long. And maybe his seat needs to be hot. I'm out.